The most important meal of the day, second breakfast.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another Second Breakfast podcast. I'm Andy Roth alongside Phil Duvall. Say hi, Phil.
Well, good morning, Second Breakfast. I'm so excited that you're here. I sang it, Andy. I sang it.
I heard, folks. We're gonna be having a bit of a format change in the coming weeks, and we're looking for some jingles to introduce different segments of our podcast.
Couldn't figure out where you were going with that.
Go
ahead.
That won't be one of them. It just won't be one of them.
You know, so when you go out of your way to kick me, it hurts. It hurts.
I'm just saying.
Flames.
You know what, Phil? Don't make me tell them how you were insulting your dog 5 seconds before we started.
I was not insulting my dog. I was suggesting that if he can't handle life, I will put him down at no cost. That's
to him, no cost to him.
Well, listen. I talk to him like a person. I don't treat him like an idiot. I want him to make grown-up decisions. Here's the deal. My dog has allergies that are so bad. This is all true. My dog is allergic to, and I'm not kidding, humans.
Awesome.
Grass.
No.
Wool.
No.
And most dirt and most food. And this is all true. And he also is highly, highly sensitive to the sun. So my dog mostly can't go outside. Now, when you hear about a dog like that, you think of a dog this big,
right?
Named like Snuggle Up, or Happy Puppy. No, hello Puppy.
Fifi or something.
My dog's an 85-pound pointer American Bulldog mix who would prefer to be outside right now. And in fact, whenever he can get outside, he gets outside and he lies in the sun, in the grass. And you'd think, and then I bring him inside and everyone's like, you're such a jerk for the fact that you don't let your dog. And then he comes inside after being outside in the grass in the sun for like 10 minutes and his face is bright red and his stomach gets hives all the way down it. And then we have to spend another $300 in antibiotics. This is all true. Everything I'm telling you is true. And so I give my dog shots. I give him a shot once a week. He's on special foods. I give him all this medication. All this stuff, and it's like, and so sometimes I look at him and I'm like right now, like just stop biting yourself. And people are like, well, you got to let him bite himself. He itches, and it's like, no, because he bites through his skin and then he gets infections, and then guess who has to pay for that? Also me. So, and he's got the infections; they hurt. So sometimes I look at him and I love my dog, like I love him, and sometimes I look at him and I'm like, hey, if you want me to put you down, I'll do it. Like, I don't want to, but if this is the deal. And he never says yes. He always looks at me and is like, let's try one more day. So we do. We keep it going. But it's and the thing is he's not even 7 yet. I mean, this guy's got another 5 years left in him. 5 or 6 years of this left in him. It's just going to be. Yeah. Like, this isn't something that just happened to him late in life. This is like who he is. It's really awesome. So anyways, I love my dog, but I will kill him someday, and that's the reality of dogs. Eventually you'll kill them unless they get hit by something. Like the good ending to a dog is the one-way trip to the vet. That's the good version. like the good version, like there's no like the sad version is them getting hit by a car. The good version is you getting them in the car and being like, let's go somewhere. Then when are we coming back, Daddy? Oh, someday.
Right. The Disney version is, I don't want to get in the car this time. I don't want to get in the car this time.
Literally, execution is the happy version. So I went with my father-in-law to put their dog down, and it was one of the saddest days of my life. And I didn't even care about that dog. Sure. And I love my dog so much.
Right.
This is gonna be so I dread what's coming. So I make jokes about it because it's the only way that I can handle what's gonna happen. Does that make sense?
Humor is a defense mechanism? No.
What? Let's make more jokes about how I'm fat. The day I start the 50th diet that I started since we've been doing this show for under a year. So there you go.
Well done.
So today I sang. I sang because today we're talking about I think a very interesting subject. Can I preface it? Can I tell a little setup?
Please do. I'm just shocked that your singing was actually topical. Please continue.
Hey!
Hey-o.
And then I sang a song about it. I love in
God.
musicals because in musicals they just start singing about whatever. They'll be like, and then we went to Home Depot and there were fans. What? So my brother texted me. Not the brother that I have talked about on the show before. I have a second brother. I have two brothers, and my middle brother. Shockingly, we talk about the middle brother less. If you've ever done family dynamics, family system stuff, you find out that the middle child always gets left out. It's not fair at all. But anyways, my middle brother's also very quiet and doesn't want to be talked about. He doesn't want any attention. But he texted me and asked a great question, which is I thought was a great question. He says, "Who do you like better, as an actor, Dwight Yoakam or Tim McGraw?" That's a fantastic question.
That is
This
a
is not,
fantastic
but we're not
question.
doing a mailbag. It
Yeah.
led me to, and I said Dwight Yoakam, and then he immediately started just listing Tim McGraw performances, and I was like, no, no, no. I think Tim McGraw is a fine actor.
Right.
I like Dwight Yoakam better, and he's just like, but what about him in Friday Night Lights? And I'm like, no, no, he's great in Friday Night Lights, but I really like Dwight Yoakam. Anyways,
I need you to hear me. I need
But
you to hear what I'm saying.
this is my brother who just mocks me mercilessly. Well, for almost everything that I do, but for partially because there was this whole thing where when you and I first started talking about a perfect movie, he was like, "Well, Forrest Gump is a perfect movie," and I was like, "No, it's not." And then he gets mad at me for not liking. He basically says I'm a snob, which I don't know how to respond.
You're wrong about Forrest Gump.
Right.
You're just wrong.
But no. But I mean, he said something about Larry Crowne, and I was like, I don't really like Larry Crowne, and he's like, God, you're such a snob, and I'm like, maybe I am. Like that's the thing. I'm like, I'm not a snob. I'm gonna go watch some movie with subtitles. But anyways, it led me to the question, which is, who are the best actors, or I'm sorry, who are the best singers who have become actors or who have also acted? Not necessarily become actors, but who have also acted.
Interestingly, I actually I made my list of people who were singers first, or I guess became known as singers first.
I think that's the way to do it. Did I say it a different way than that?
Well, you said not necessarily singers who became actors, just singers.
I'm sorry. What I meant by that was, I didn't mean singers who transitioned primarily to acting. I meant like singers who also acted. Example would be,
okay.
At this point, is Justin Timberlake even a singer? He might be. I also don't care about Justin Timberlake, and he'll come up in this conversation. But but I didn't mean someone who transitioned to acting. I meant someone who took on both.
I guess I got to be honest. I don't know how to have that conversation because what does transitioning mean? Like there are people like.
And maybe I was making a caveat that doesn't even need to exist.
So lovely idea. Let's hold off on that last restriction there.
Sure.
Sound good?
Yeah, it's fine.
So for me, I'll start us off with a statement that you can either it's your world. I'm just living in it. You can agree with or disagree with or whatever you want.
I already disagree with it. Go ahead.
You actually probably will.
Okay.
In my mind, there are four in terms of. I'll leave bankability out of this. In terms of critical reception.
Yep.
Singers who have turned actors, I think there are 3 or 4 singers turned actors that are sort of head and shoulders above everybody else.
Okay.
And those 3 are Frank Sinatra.
I can't disagree with you already. You have named the one that I care about more than anyone. Go ahead.
Cher.
Okay.
And Barbra Streisand.
All acceptable, even though I'm not a huge Barber fan. That's it's a good call.
And if I push it to 4, there are a couple of people that I wasn't sure about, and the reason that I'm going to keep it at 3 is because those 3 I'm sure about. You know what I mean?
Dead certain.
Yeah, Will Smith and Bing Crosby. Bing Crosby, and I didn't know this. I knew he was respected as an actor. He was nominated for 3 Oscars.
Wow, I didn't know that at all.
I had no idea. And Will Smith, he's gotten the award nominations and stuff. But I feel it's difficult to leave him off at least a list near the top because
He
for a
would be an
time,
example. Go ahead.
well, for a time he was sort of undisputably the biggest star on the planet.
Yes. No,
So
and I think he would be an example of what I was talking about earlier of a musician who transitioned to an actor and then was not a musician anymore. I mean, he's not a
fair.
musician.
No, it's
He's not a
fair.
musician.
That's fair. That's a fair point.
Um, and he is the most successful transition. I mean,
Yes. Yes.
from a sheer bankability standpoint,
Yes.
and from a star standpoint.
Yeah.
I would say from a respectability standpoint, I think you nailed it. Um, especially to me with Sinatra and Streisand.
Sure.
Although, I mean, I don't know what Cher's deal is, but you're right. I mean, God, she's won one Oscar or two.
She's been nominated for 2. She was nominated for a drama. She didn't win the drama. She was nominated and won for a comedy.
Yeah, yeah.
How tough is it to win
which she
for a
deserved,
comedy? Oh.
which she deserved.
Oh.
And the other thing that
Total
she
agreement.
did, when you think about it, Sinatra and Bing Crosby and Barbra Streisand all transitioned into film. First and foremost, and Elvis.
Yes,
that's a whole other
Elvis.
story. But
Right.
he actually never got past this.
Right.
But they were all movie musicals.
Mm-hmm.
And then they became serious actors.
Yes.
I mean, Sinatra was in Anchors Away and all this other stuff.
Right.
And Crosby did that stuff. And you know who another one is that we haven't mentioned, actually? He's sort of actually the prototype for all these guys, believe it or not.
Who's that?
Is Fred Astaire. Fred Astaire he was a singer. People don't realize this. I mean, he was a dancer, but his records were best-selling records.
See, I didn't know that.
They,
The reason I didn't put him on my list was because I knew him as a dancer, but I believe
I didn't realize that.
I
I didn't realize that until recently. Like, I was reading an article about. I have a book actually called "The 1,000 Recordings You Need to Listen to Before You Die," and there's like a Fred Astaire collection on there, and I was like, okay. I mean, I thought of Fred Astaire as a dancer in a movie and as a filmmaker, as a dancer in movies, as an actor. And his voice is sort of not the biggest deal, but it's a nice voice.
Sure.
But then I like read the thing, and the guy was like, "Yeah, you don't realize that Fred Astaire was basically the biggest movie star, best dancer, and most popular singer on the planet at one point." And it's like, what?
Wow.
Like, that's right. Like,
Wow.
you know, like, seriously. So I mean, Fred Astaire was sort of a template in a lot of ways for that.
Fascinating.
And then Bing Crosby, it obviously was the biggest influence on Frank Sinatra. And then,
Yes.
I mean, then when you talk about Frank Sinatra and you talk about acting and singing, or even just acting in films, you have to take Dean Martin and Sammy Davis Jr. seriously.
That's right.
Sammy Davis Jr. did less non-singing roles, but
Right.
Dean Martin got to a point where he was making a lot of stuff where he was not singing.
Yeah, and he's marvelous in Rio Bravo. Just fantastic.
Quite.
Great. Yeah.
But I think you said it in the terms of the template is Sinatra, Streisand, and Cher, and I think you have to give Will Smith. I mean, maybe he gets his own category. I mean,
I think you might be right about that. I think you might
I
be right.
wonder a lot if that's what Justin Timberlake is trying to do. Is the Will Smith thing?
Interestingly, it might be. And what was the actual name of his album recently? "Sexy Back." Was that the name of the album? Or was that just the name of the single?
It was.
But see, the reason I think that is actually along the lines of Will Smith is for the first few of those huge movies Will Smith was in, he was doing like the main title song. You know, he did Men in Black. You know,
You're right.
But like, he had songs. I think he may not have had a song on the Independence Day soundtrack, but he did on, you know, Bad Boys and stuff like that. And so you know, so in other words, I guess he really was trying to make it a transition. It wasn't like, all right, I'm just doing movies now, you know, and
Right.
that sounds obvious, but because everything else about Will Smith to his career's detriment and frankly to our loss, because I think he is a very talented actor when he puts his mind to something. It's too calculated for that to be, no one would do one thing and then quit it cold turkey to do another thing. You would obviously transition. I think it's more calculated than that.
It is difficult for me to speak critically of Will Smith, partially because I feel like he's so likable on principle.
Yes.
partially because I grew up with him,
Yes.
and partially because anytime I criticize anyone of another race, I worry that I sound racist on principle. It's just something I worry about. Like I'm always like, am I sounding like a racist person? What do I know about Will Smith's life? I respect him. I think he's really, like you said, very quite talented. From the things that I have read several things about him, and they talk about how calculated his decisions are,
Yeah.
and it's a little strange to me.
Sure.
It's almost like the acquisition of success as a tangible commodity.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
And that to me is really strange. I mean, it's not that strange. It's just him applying to acting what people apply to all other sorts of fields. He's
Yes.
treating the it's almost like his career is celebrity, but
Yes.
not in the way that it would be for Paris Hilton or one of these other just people who are famous for being famous. He's famous for doing things.
Yes. Yes.
But the end goal seems to be
Right.
fame and money, which
Which
I mean, there are worse things to
It's
have
true.
your end goal be,
But
really.
it almost makes it sadder because you see him doing things like Ali and like, for example, 7 Pounds, which was not a very good movie, but I
Nope.
thought he was very good in it.
Yeah.
And The Pursuit of Happiness, which I thought
Yep.
was a pretty good movie, and he was great in it.
Yep.
And then you see him doing things like After Earth, which you can just laugh off as, oh, it's a dad getting his son a job. But I think, as you were saying, I think it's much more calculated than that.
I think it's him and his son in this. I mean, I think it is a dad getting his son a job, but in a very calculated way. That's
Right,
like,
yes.
I like together. I mean, I think he thought, who's not going to want to see Will Smith and his son in a movie together? Like, how is
Turns
that
out most
not
people.
right? And I
Yes.
think that's because of the quality of the movie, not because of them. I think if he had chosen a better movie, that it would have gone off really well.
Well, Pursuit of Happiness was a hit, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Not an enormous hit, but a hit.
And I almost feel like there was I didn't see it, but you saw it. Didn't he have a wife in the movie?
For like 20 seconds.
They should have just given it to Jada Pinkett Smith. Like, they
Yes.
should have just done that.
Yes.
But anyways, that's beside the point. I mean, I think it could have been a better movie, and I think that would have been helpful. But I mean, I also think he did stuff like turn down Django Unchained. I mean, Tarantino openly wrote the movie with Will Smith in mind, like said so.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that.
And
yeah.
I am not a detractor of Jamie Foxx's, but I'm also not a Jamie Foxx like, oh, Jamie Foxx is in this?
Right.
In fact, he's a guy who's really interesting because he's gone kind of the other direction.
Right.
He's been a singer.
Right.
He's been a singer and done that stuff.
That's right.
But you got to hand it to Jamie Foxx. Jamie Foxx took that role and was like, and first of all, you have to hand it to Jamie Foxx because he does whatever he needs to do. He sings, he dances, he's a stand-up, he does sketch comedy, and then he's an actor who totally deserved an Oscar and could win more of them easily and could have been nominated for Django Unchained.
Yes.
But Smith looked at that movie and was like,
yeah.
well, he said he's not the star of the movie. He thought Christoph Waltz was the star of the movie, or his character, that King Schmidt was the star of the movie.
Right.
Right. And it's like, first of all, no. And secondly, so what? Even if it is, but it isn't. But so what? And you trust, I think that's a cop out. I think he just was, the idea of him being in a Tarantino movie was probably not what he wanted for what he considers his image.
Right.
Jamie Foxx went for it. And I've read some interviews where Tarantino basically openly to Jamie Foxx was like, I was skeptical about hiring you. and Jamie Foxx was like, well then, instead of being like, oh no, it was like, I'll dig deeper.
Right. That's right.
And in the end, I mean, I don't
Yes.
know, I think that movie speaks for itself.
I agree.
We're getting slightly off topic.
Yeah.
Well,
here's
why do actors or why do singers act? I mean, they're not the same thing at all.
Well, see, it's interesting. I don't know that I agree with you on that, and I think I could tie it into what we were saying so that our extraordinary digression does not feel like such a digression.
Thank you.
It is. There are people who perform in only one way. But I wonder how many people who make it to the stage of being a star in either one of these media
Yeah.
are like that. Or whether they're like, I'm really good at this thing, and also I just love performing. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, I do. A huge reason I know what you're talking about is because of my career path.
Sure.
That a big part of why I was able to say, I mean, I knew at some point, I was like, you know what? I don't I don't want to do this. I don't want to be an actor anymore. Like it's not something I want to do, and I don't want to do that path. And I had fun acting, but one of the things that really attracted me to being a priest was preaching
Yeah.
and standing up in front of people and communicating an idea.
Yes.
And there's a performance aspect to that.
Mhm.
And you got to be careful with that because if you turn it, you don't want to ham it up. And I mean, well, some people may want to. I don't believe in that. I don't
Right.
believe in. You don't want to be the star of the show. You want
Right.
the word, the message to be the star of the show. But at the same time, I have been. It makes me better at preaching because I enjoy performing and standing in front of people. It makes it easier for me, and so yeah, to some degree that's true. And I play instruments. I'm not very good at any of them, but I play instruments and like to sing and do that stuff. So
Right.
I think you're right. I think performance is an exciting thing for especially those of us who were in theater.
Yes.
And
Agreed.
so I think that makes sense. Yeah, and they like attention.
Yeah, and as to directly answer your question, what is it that makes someone do that? It might be hubris, like it might be, and
It totally might be.
and that really, and I don't say that in a judgmental way. It's hubris to have them do it, maybe, but that doesn't have any bearing on whether or not they're going to be good at it.
I want to talk about a subgenre of musicians who have done acting turns that I think probably has the highest level of success of any of them.
Tell me.
Country singers.
Yep.
And I think there's a reason. I think there's several reasons for it. I think that, and this is the sort of the story of country music that people tell, but that country music tells stories. That country singers are storytellers more than almost any other genre. I mean, good ones are. I mean, even bad ones are. They're just bad storytellers, or the stories are lame. But they're storytellers.
Yeah.
It's once upon a time back in my hometown.
Yeah.
I saw this happen.
Yes.
And she left me because I was no good. And they sing about this is what happened. There's a song by George Jones. I mean, well, every George Jones song is a story.
Right.
But he has a song where the refrain is "Yabba dabba doo, the king is gone, and so are you," which is ridiculous, but it's a story about how he's got a Jim Beam decanter shaped like Elvis and a Fred Flintstone jelly bean jar. And he breaks them both open when his wife leaves and eats all the jelly beans and drinks all of the Jim Beam and starts talking drunkenly to Fred Flintstone and Elvis Presley. And everything I told you is ridiculous, except that the song is fantastic because a great singer is telling a story about his wife leaving.
And you know what that is? That's not a movie, but it's a short film. You know what I mean?
That's a short story. And so country music is short stories. So I want to say a couple things. Chris Christopherson is one of the best examples. Chris Christopherson is a guy that if you didn't know country music, you would just think of him as an actor.
Right.
You've seen him in the Blade movies. You've seen him in Payback. You've seen him in he was in a Star Is Born remake with Barbara Streisand.
Yes.
He was in Allison Doesn't Live Here Anymore. He was in Lone Star.
So
Have you seen Lone Star?
He's so good.
Oh, that was my first. What's that guy? John Dahl? No, John Sayles. That was my first John Sayles movie. So
By the way,
Chris Christopherson's a real actor.
Oh, agreed. By the way, to take you in the Wayback Machine, a while ago we were talking about actors we were excited for, like to see as they progressed further in their careers, and I mentioned for a certain age group Matthew McConaughey. The only movie I could remember back before this past year or so was The Lincoln Lawyer, but Lone Star. I was trying to remember Lone Star. He's amazing. He's great.
Chris Christopherson
is so good.
And I would put what is that movie on the list that I love? The Bill Paxton flick that I like so much. Frailty. Frailty is great for religious people, especially, man.
Sure.
If you have any spiritual inclinations, see Frailty and then call me. Oh, that movie messes me up, man. But yeah, I mean, country singers like Chris Christopherson is a great example. But I mean, like I said before, Dwight Yoakam in Sling Blade,
so good.
One of my favorite villains of all time, and not actually. He's not even a villain you can enjoy. I mean, every time he's on the screen, it's claustrophobic and uncomfortable.
Right. You're too close. You are too close to someone. When he is on the screen, you are too close to someone who you really don't know how they're going to handle anything that's happening, and it could be very dangerous.
Yes. And full disclosure, Dwight Yoakam is one of my favorite singers alive. So nice. I saw him live earlier this year, and it was one of the best shows I've ever seen. And he
Also
had a
very
cold.
good.
He had a cold, and he was like, "I don't care that I have a cold." He'd go and blow his nose, and then come back and just rock out one of his amazing songs.
Awesome. Also very good.
Yep.
Also totally crazy, although I guess a more
Can't
traditional
wait.
villain
Can't wait.
in Panic Room.
Oh, I've heard that. Yeah. I haven't
Yeah,
seen. I've seen only bits of Panic Room, but I would
sure.
see it. In all seriousness, that movie is supposed to not be very good, and I would see it just for the cast because it's got Jodie Foster, Dwight Yoakam, and Forrest Whitaker. I'm in. I'm in. Obviously, I
It's
wasn't in
I
when it
mean
came out, but I would.
it's very enjoyable. It's certainly it's not one of David Fincher's better movies, but
What?
it's very good. It was very
David Fincher
enjoyable.
still. I'm going to say this. David Fincher still has a lot to prove for me, but that's just my own stuff. My brother asked the question. It's a good question. Dwight Yoakam or Tim McGraw. I Tim McGraw is interesting to me. Tim McGraw is a guy who puts in good performances, but I always know he's Tim McGraw,
That's fair.
and that's how I feel about Justin Timberlake as well. And I don't
That's
actually mean
fair.
but neither of them take away from the movie. I mean, he really is. I mean, his first performance was in Friday Night Lights, the movie, where he plays the just drunken, awful dad.
Yes.
Thought he did a great job.
Yes.
Great job. But the whole
Yes.
time I was like, oh, look, it's Tim McGraw playing a drunken dad.
Yeah, and you wonder how
And,
much like that's your own baggage bringing stuff in.
It could be. In Blindside, he was fine in Blindside. I mean, he didn't
Agreed.
really do anything. He was just fine.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so I don't. It sounds like I'm saying something negative about Tim McGraw. I thought he was. He's serviceable. I'd like to. I have never seen him and been like, oh my gosh.
Right. Right.
But I've seen him and been like, good job, Tim McGraw. That's a real thing.
Yeah. No, totally.
Justin Timberlake in Black Snake Moan, on the other hand, wow.
Agreed. Was it his debut? What a performance. Like
Maybe, but it's a really good performance.
it was certainly the first movie that I took notice of him as an actor.
Yep.
The one thing I'll say is I think I'm with you on Dwight Yoakam slightly over Tim McGraw just because I think Dwight Yoakam's done more and because frankly just Sling Blade. He's just
Sling
so
Blade,
good.
and he's on Wilfred, and he's fantastic on Wilfred.
I am forced to believe you because I've never seen it, but I do believe you.
And he's a cameo, and he's got just like a bunch of spots. The other country guy that I have to mention is Lyle Lovett, who has
Nice.
only ever been, as far as I know, in Robert Altman films.
Sure. Right.
But I love him in them, and of course he met Julia Roberts on a Robert Altman movie, and that's how they got married. And but I mean, him as the cake maker in Shortcuts. It's phenomenal stuff.
Yeah.
And another. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well,
I could do this all day long.
I mean, my country star that I wanna mention, not over any of yours certainly, but Dolly Parton.
No, you're right.
Dolly Parton.
No, absolutely.
I
Yeah.
mean, 9 to 5 was a huge hit.
Yeah.
A bunch.
She's made a bunch of stuff, but she's a good comic actress. She's
Yes,
funny.
She is.
She's very self-effacing, and she knows how to be on camera. She's
Yes.
she's lovely. People love her.
And she is an excellent example of what I think we were talking about earlier. Like anyway, and I don't say this as like to call her egotistical in any way. I just think like she loves performing so much that any way that she has any talent in, she's going to develop that talent so that people want to see her perform in that way.
Yes.
I
think another really successful musician who, as actor, is Tom Waits. He's never carried a movie. See, the thing is, we're talking now about people. I mean, most of these country stars have not carried movies.
Right.
Chris Christopherson has, and Dolly Parton has in an ensemble. But I mean, like when I talk about Dwight Yoakam and Tim McGraw and Lyle Lovett and Tom Waits. Tom Waits, I just saw Seven Psychopaths. He's great in Seven Psychopaths.
Yes.
His greatest performance that I can think of is Renfield in Dracula.
He's so good in that. He's so good.
I didn't know he was a singer when I saw that. I didn't know anything about him.
Neither
and
did
I was
I.
just like, and I like that. That was my first introduction to Tom Waits as anything.
That's right.
And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I love him in Mystery Men. And he's
Right.
another, and he kind of is good for the same reason a lot of country singers are, because he's a storyteller. If you listen to his music, he tells stories, and he loves stories. My hero, one of my heroes, Bob Dylan, not a good actor.
Okay.
Decidedly not a good actor. Has been in several films. Has never worked out for anyone.
Not
His best
well.
performance. His best performance is as Bob Dylan, and because in my opinion, it is a performance. I think
Sure.
he is a public persona, and his work in documentaries is amazing. But as an actor, forget it. I think we'd be in trouble if we didn't mention rap stars.
Yes.
particularly Ice Cube in Boys in the Hood and
Yes.
Ice-T in New Jack City.
Right, right. When we say Ice Cube, please don't think about Are We There Yet? Think about Boys in the Hood and the Friday
Yeah,
movies.
yeah, you're
Please.
right. Yeah,
You
you're
know.
right. And Ice-T in New Jack City was Ice-T, who was this just hard when grow. It's funny how young we were and how naive we were, but like Ice-T was a scary person to me.
Sure.
He represented something that was dangerous to me, possibly because I was a white suburbanite, but partially because he sang about killing cops and
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
And then he turned around and played a cop in New Jack City, and you were like,
Right.
what?
Yeah, totally.
And was really good. And he's really good on Law and Order, Special Victims
That's
Unit.
right.
And now
That's
I think
right.
he's played cops longer than he's been a rapper.
Yes.
Very strange life of Ice Cube.
Also,
Ice-T.
I don't necessarily think he's an award winner, but LL Cool J is an engaging presence on screen.
You're right. I really enjoyed him in the film. Ready for it? Toys.
Nice. I really enjoyed him in the film. Wait for it. Deep Blue Sea.
I was waiting for you to say that exact thing.
I know you were. Where he plays a chef.
Yep.
Yep. And also.
Well done, LL.
Yeah. Right. And my personal favorite at the moment, not because he's the best actor in the world, but he is again an engaging screen presence, and because he is in a franchise that I have come to love over the past few months. Ludacris.
Here it comes.
Ludacris.
Yeah.
Luda,
Yeah.
man. He is, and here's someone who really is keeping a toe in both media because every single, he continues to, like, he doesn't just, okay, he puts at least one song on all of the Fast and Furious movie soundtracks. But also, he continues to not only put out his own stuff, but he's collaborating with other rappers. He's appearing on their records. They're appearing on his. Like he is fully still a musician, even as he gets more and more
Interesting.
film roles. And the
another guy like that is Mos Def.
I'm so glad you said that. I want to get to Mos Def in a second.
Because he goes back and forth. He acts and then puts out an album.
The last thing I'll say about no, it's fine. The last thing I'll say about Ludacris is the first thing I saw him in was Crash, which won the Oscar for Best Picture, and that's maybe the worst decision the Oscars have made in my lifetime. It's just a terrible movie, but he was actually really good in it. I really liked him in it.
I've seen half of Crash.
Yeah.
I'm not lying. I want to see the whole thing just because, on principle.
Phil, you can't save everybody. You can't keep people from harming themselves as they want to. So you know what? See the rest of Crash. If you want to, see the rest of Crash. Mos Def, one of my favorites. I am so excited because I think he is phenomenally talented. He, if you have seen the movie 16 Blocks, it's a buddy movie with Bruce Willis as a cop, and Mos Def is a perp/witness, and his voice is so infuriating and annoying. I want to open a bakery, and he never stops talking. He's one of these motor mouths.
Right.
For the entire movie, and you don't get sick of him. Honestly, that deserves.
I love that. I want to see that now. Now I want to see 16 Blocks.
It's an enjoyable movie. You'll like it.
I love him in Be Kind, Rewind.
Yes.
Which was a movie that to me was not as good as it should have been, but I love him in it.
Yes.
And he's a real actor. I think that's the thing is, he's an actor. When he acts, he's not a rapper acting. He's an actor.
Be Kind, Rewind, and then see The Woodsman.
I've seen The Woodsman,
where he plays Kevin Bacon, a pedophile's parole officer, and every moment he's on screen, it's like, you're gonna lapse again. And while I don't want you to, I can't wait for it because I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna nail you.
But it's human. It's very human. He gets it. I like Mos Def a lot. And the bonus for that, and we're gonna go right back to Sinatra in a second. The bonus for Mos Def is that I actually like his music. I'm not a big rap guy. I've tried. I've never been able to get that much into it. But I actually have an album, a Mos Def Talib Kweli album called Black Star, and I don't have a lot of his stuff, but I have enough of it that I'm like, this guy's really good at rapper. So I like that he's really good at what he does in both cases.
Right.
Which is Sinatra. I mean, that takes me back to Sinatra. Part of the reason
I'm sorry. We'll get to Sinatra. We can talk about him as much as
I want to talk about Sinatra forever.
Zip it, because I'm not done with Mos Def.
Okay, go ahead.
Here's how I know that I like him for his talent, as opposed to he's just given me some fun performances. I thought he was sort of sadly miscast in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy,
Yep.
but I thought he was still really good.
Yeah.
Also, I've waited on him and his family. He's an unbelievably nice guy.
Love that.
So gracious. And the reason I waited on him is the final thing I want to say about him, because I worked at a restaurant just down the street from where he was in a Broadway show called Top Dog Underdog, written by a playwright named Susan Laurie Parks.
Susan Laurie Parks, right.
And all I have to say is this: Jeffrey Wright is one of the shining theater stars of our generation. He is extraordinary. He's extraordinary in movies. He is doubly extraordinary in on stage. And Mos Def absolutely held the stage with him for every minute they were, and it was a 2-person show. So if he wasn't up for it, no, you know. And then, just because I think we would be remiss if we didn't mention her, and then we could talk about Sinatra and for as long as you want, because I do think he's sort of the archetype. We would be remiss if we didn't mention Jennifer Lopez.
You're right. You're very right. And she's someone who's willing to take risks and be an actor. I mean, her in The Cell, which I did not like The Cell, but that's just because I thought it was just I never want to think about it again. But she was good in it. And right. She'll be an actor. She's willing to be an actor. Yes. You know, she's a little calculated. I actually think she's better. I'd rather she just be an actor because I don't care about her music at all.
Agreed. How good is she in Out of Sight, though? I know. She's a great. If that was the path her career took, I would just be as happy as a clam. She's just fantastic. Totally. Yes.
Sinatra made his way as a musician, made his way as a radio star, did the movies that were very normal for the time for music. I mean, a lot of singers were doing musicals on film. Mm-hmm. And I'll say the same for Streisand. I just don't care about Streisand as much, but she did the same thing. She's very talented, which is that they made the transition to serious movies. But he did it. What I love, because maybe you know this. I mean, I know you know it, Andy, but I'm just a huge Sinatra fan.
Sure.
I know. I just love him in so many ways. And one thing I know about him is his career as a singer. He had like a polyp on his throat, and he had like this issue with his voice, and he almost lost his voice, and he lost his contract with Columbia Records, and he was done, and he was all washed up. And he had, I'm pretty sure, slept with a studio boss's wife or girlfriend or something, and or had messed up something with, and so he wanted this role in From Here to Eternity. This is the story from which the Godfather's, the whole Godfather, the first storyline with the horse head. This is all based on the Sinatra myth.
Yes.
Which is that Sinatra pulled strings and talked to some friends who convinced the guy over at the movie studio to allow Sinatra to be in From Here to Eternity. Mm-hmm. But what we need to understand is, I mean, Sinatra, all the myths aside about like how he got the gig for From Here to Eternity, what we do know is that he deeply believed, because his career was essentially over. And people don't realize that because all his most popular stuff now is from after that.
Right.
But he was a singer from the 40s. He was a Bobby Soxer. He was a teen idol.
Right.
And that was over. Right. Who cares about it? He's a washed up teen idol.
Yeah.
And he got in this movie, and he really believed this would change everything. And it freaking did. He won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor.
Agreed.
He was amazing, and his acting career. I mean, his acting career wasn't. He did a lot of crap. But when he was, but watch him in this. Watch him in Manchurian Candidate. Watch him in The Man with the Golden Arm. Watch him even in the movies where he's having fun. I mean, Robin and the Seven Hoods, Guys and Dolls. Like,
right.
He's an actor. He's the real deal, and he could carry it. And meanwhile and then he used, and this is amazing. He used his success as an actor to catapult him to further stardom as a singer.
Yeah,
and
it's
came
true.
back, and if you listen to him in the 40s and then you listen to him in the mid 50s, his voice is different, and his voice was cleaner when he was younger. But he literally became a better singer as he got older. Like, he did the thing where he was like, I can't do what I used to be able to do. I need to figure out how to do what I do better with what I've got.
Yep.
And it totally worked.
It totally worked.
And
Yes.
I mean, all of his capital. Basically, there's three stages of Sinatra's career. There's the Columbia stage, the Capitol stage. These are all the record labels he worked for, and then the Reprise stage, which should be Reprise, but he named it Reprise, and the Reprise label. And those are the three. And the Capitol series, which is after From Here to Eternity, is his best stuff. So I mean, his acting and his singing, all I don't know. It's a phenomenal story. This is a guy who like came back from the edge, from the abyss, and took it all over and won an Oscar and a Grammy. I mean, he's one of those guys who won it all. You know, well, he didn't win it all. He doesn't have the what is it called?
The EGOT.
The EGOT, the
Right.
Emmy, Grammy, Obie, Tony. I don't think he ever won a
Oscar.
Oscar, Tony, Obie. I'm sorry, I'm an idiot. The Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, Tony. I know he won an Oscar. I know he's won Grammys. I don't think he may have won Emmys and Tonys. I doubt it. Though. I don't think he won a Tony.
I don't believe he has either.
I bet there's a list of EGOTs.
There is. It's on Wikipedia. Interestingly, you ready for this?
Tell me.
Barbra Streisand has never won a Tony. Well, okay, that's a lie.
That doesn't shock me.
That's a lie. That's a lie. She's won a Tony, but it was a special Tony. It wasn't like a competitive Tony.
Right.
Sinatra is not. I suppose. Yeah, it doesn't.
And
look
there's
like
people
he's
who have
got
won that I think it's sort of like. I mean, most of them that have won have not won for acting. Let's put it that way.
Right. That's right. That's
and
right.
like Audrey Hepburn winning, I wonder what her Emmy was for. It was probably for reading something.
Right.
You know,
Right.
seriously.
No, absolutely.
So you have someone like Rita Moreno, that's legit,
Yes.
right? And Whoopi Goldberg has won an EGOT, but it's a daytime Emmy.
Right.
Doesn't count.
Right.
But I wonder what her Grammy's for. It's probably for best, you know.
Right.
Anyways, like
Yeah.
best narration of something or stand-up album or something like that.
Right. Yes.
Amazing.
So yeah, it's an interesting thing, and I think, I think obviously there are too many people who do this to sort of ascribe one motive to it, but I really do think, you know, and we can speak from experience, you know, performing is a it's a powerful drug, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
so if you are good at performing in one way, there is that pull to see if you're good at performing in another way. And if you have achieved the success that these people have as singers, you have people in your life who, if you say, I want to try acting, you're not doing community theater in Idaho. They're going to put you in a movie.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So and I don't say that with jealousy. I don't say that with derision. I mean that's, you know, a small movie, for example, is their version of community theater in Idaho.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
So, you know, it is what it is.
By the way, someone's going to get mad at us if we don't mention Liza Minnelli. I don't know who they are, but they're gay. And they're wanting us to mention Liza Minnelli. And we haven't mentioned Judy Garland either.
I mean, I guess this is.
I don't know what to do with Judy Garland.
Well, this is my perception of Judy Garland, and it could be wrong. Is that she was a famous musical theater actress? I wonder how much, and regardless of like the theater she did, I wonder how much pure singing she did.
She did albums, she did tours as a singer, and she was a friend of Sinatra's. Then she would do like shows and stuff.
Well,
so
then.
she was a singer, but she was a singer. She was someone who, to me, it's hard to see her as a singer who became an actor so much as a musical theater person, which is fine.
Fair.
That's not
That's
a criticism.
fair.
And I would
That's
say the
fair.
same about Liza Minnelli to some degree as well.
The only rebuttal I have to that is the movie Arthur. She is not a.
But you're right. But I'm saying, I mean, she made her way as a musical theater person is what
Agreed.
I mean by that.
No, agreed.
Like Sinatra
Agreed.
came up as a singer.
No, agreed.
And then that's what I mean.
No, totally agreed. Oh, I see what you're saying.
There you go. There you
Your
got it.
problem isn't with the acting part; is with she didn't start as a singer part.
That's right.
I
That's
gotcha.
right.
And that makes sense. Even now, I wonder how many albums she's released that weren't, you know, filled with musical theater standards. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Right.
Like,
You know what's interesting? I'm looking at the EGOT winners, and really it's about songwriting. That's how you do it.
yes,
That's how you do it.
That's right.
Randy Newman is one Tony Award away from being an EGOT. You know who else is one Tony Award away? Martin Scorsese.
Awesome.
Martin
I love it.
Scorsese, produce a play. just cause.
Yeah, it's true.
Just cause.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's the way the Tonys work. They will love you and they'll just throw a Tony at you. I wish that weren't the case, but it is. You know?
that seems to be the one that like everybody who's only missing a Tony, Cher, just
Right.
go get a Tony. Apparently you collect them like peanuts. Just go get a Tony. The Oscar is the hard thing, I think.
I agree. Because there
but
are 8 million categories in the Grammys.
Yep.
There are 8 million categories in the Emmys. You know.
You know who's close is Adele. Adele's already got her Oscar
Right.
and her Grammy. She could get an Emmy and a Tony in no time.
That's true. I agree
All she has to do is a one-woman review.
Here's the deal. I think we should do another podcast on the
EGOTs. All right,
yes,
we need to stop.
Because it's fascinating.
You're right. Okay.
Singers turns actors. It's kind of a nebulous concept because there's so many people who took so many different paths. Will Smith's path is not the same as Sinatra's. Is not the same as Bing Crosby's. Even with
And we haven't talked at all about David Bowie.
Right. That's right.
We haven't talked about Sting, which I'm okay with. We haven't talked about David Byrne. Jim Jarmusch just single-handedly has employed like a dozen singers who have only been in Jim Jarmusch movies.
That's true.
But I think David Bowie is an interesting character. That's someone worth talking about. I don't think he's made anything that's like Oscar-worthy, but I mean, he's worth talking about. And for all of us, our generation, Labyrinth,
yes,
right?
Totally.
Just messed us all up. So
yes.
The
babe with the power. Yes.
Not even going to respond because it'll take us we'll just do that for the next 5 minutes.
Fantastic. Alrighty. I hope. Does that bring us to the end of this discussion, at least for now? I mean, are we done? Can we be done?
Yeah, we're done.
Alrighty. Then, as the man says, we're done. So this will bring us to the end of another Second Breakfast podcast. I'm Andy Roth, and that's Phil Duvall. See you again real soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
The most important meal of the day, second breakfast.